So senior year, I was in stagecraft. I was on the crew. I was a theater nerd. I was in charge of projections for the Shakespeare show, right? And I had to project like shit on a sail, and it was dope. And I had to make the sail too, which was not as dope. But so I didn't have projections during the first half of the show. So, like I had a week of, rehearsal and, watching high school students recite, Shakespeare is not an enjoyable experience for 2 hours, much less. I think it ended up being 20 or like 40 hours of, sitting in there watching them just fucking make noises. Like for the first week, I just climbed roofs. I climbed onto the roofs of buildings because
Wait, I'm sorry.
Our school is outside. I went outside of the theater, which is weird because
when you were bored.
I've never been outside the theater. No, during this week of performances, instead of watching the students, make noises and shit their pants, I went outside the theater, and we have like bricks, like rough brick wall textures on the building, so you can just climb up that shit and get onto the roofs. And so I did that for like.
You could.
Did you wear gloves?
No.
Okay.
I tore up my hands and my wrists. I still have some, but
That's not bad.
But like, so I climbed to 11 out of 21 roofs or something.
Whoa.
And the other ones had like stucco walls, so you couldn't even climb them.
I could.
Obviously. Because they're all climbable with multiple people, but it was just me, which is the thing.
Oh, that's the thing. You need partners.
Yeah.
Or clones.
But so then, after I climbed all the roofs,
or slaves, I guess.
I just got really bored, and I on Friday and Saturday night, I was just walking around, and I was like, hey, they installed 27 security cameras at the beginning of this year. I wonder if I can find them all. And then once I found them all, I was like, hey, I wonder if I can move them. And they're all approximately 10 feet off the ground. So you had to climb up the brick shit to move them. And so I moved them, and I moved one, and then another, and then another, and then three more, and then a fourth one, and then I got tired and I gave up. So I moved a total of 7, which is I think the number I gave before.
Okay.
Security cameras.
7 security cameras. And I didn't think anything about it because literally no thought went into it. Why take any thought out of it?
I mean, when you're climbing, you're in an animalistic mode.
Because as second semester senior, I'm full DGAF.
Yeah. Second semester senior year is, I think, the most animal state I've ever been in. Honestly,
like my mental process was literally, I wonder if I can move them. Then I did 7 times. And I didn't, think about it much, and nothing happened on Monday, which was weird. But then on Tuesday, I got called into the office, and urgent was circled like fucking 40 times on the pamphlet, and I was like, oh shit, which one is this for? So I walk into the office, and the principal and both vice principals are sitting in the principal's office, fucking like badass, like
like Charlie's Angels.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow, they're fucking Charlie's Angeling it up. And the principal is like, what do you think you're doing? And I don't know what specifically he's talking about. I don't know if it's the roofs, if it's the cameras, if it's the drugs that I've been selling.
Right.
So I'm like, I don't know. And then he said, why are you moving security cameras? And unfortunately, the correct answer to that was still, I don't know.
I wanted to try.
And he was like, no, like what, what's your motivation? Is like, I wondered if I could, and then I did. And he's like, well, then why didn't you stop at 1?
That's a really good point, actually.
That fucking blew my mind because I was like, shit, I don't know. I kept doing it, and then I got really bored, so I gave up and I went back. I don't have any, and he was like, I don't believe, you'd have to be a sociopath not to have a reason. And I'm like, you don't understand. I'm a second semester senior. I am a sociopath.
You're the textbook sociopath. Yeah.
Basically, I was DGAF above other people. It was like I was sociopathic second semester, so I was like, shit, is what I mean? But so I tried to come up with the best excuse which was I got off on doing it. It was like a thrill, it was a rush. I enjoyed doing it.
I masturbated afterwards.
And I was just like, is that what you want to hear? And they're like, I don't believe you. You know what?
What did they want? What did they want from you?
I'll get to that eventually.
Okay.
So they were upset with me. They were because they were afraid that you move more than half the security cameras that I moved were cameras that were located on the front of the school. 2 of which were license plate cameras, specifically, you know, like so they can see license plates. And so, you know, if someone were to like, you know, drive up a bus full of small children and then release the small children, you wouldn't have the license plate.
You wouldn't know where they went.
If it was a drug deal or like a body snatching or whatever, you know, you wouldn't be able to you know, see it. And so they thought that I was going to set up something like that. Maybe because they knew I was dealing drugs. So they thought I had a supplier.
Right.
Which I didn't. Kramer's Pharmacy. No. Never mind.
I got that.
I don't.
Wait, what drugs did you deal?
Methamphetamines and heroin.
Really?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
No,
I was like, I don't think you can get those from the pharmacy.
No, I didn't actually sell drugs.
Good thing to
which
say.
It's something I added as a story though, because it makes me sound cool as shit.
Right. Add some mystery. Add some depth.
Cool. Kids, if you're listening, sell drugs. So they, you know, they thought I was up to something. I was going to set something up, but I wasn't. But they're like, all right, you have to call your father. And, you know, I was like, oh shit, all right, I have to call my dad.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was like, I don't know how he's gonna, you know, respond to this. But again, I was decaf, so also like, I don't care how he responds to this.
Well, I mean, like,
you know,
I don't know. Yeah.
So I realized though that there were 3 people in the room, and none of them actually wanted me to be in trouble.
Right.
Because I had worked with the principal on previous shows. Like we had spent fucking countless hours, you know, slaving away on sets together. You know, so
principal?
we had that bond. Yeah.
Was he the principal at the time?
Yes.
Oh,
It was like earlier that year. Because
he's invested in the arts. Good on him.
that's one way of putting it. But so, and one of the vice principals had been the teacher sponsor for my Magic the Gathering club sophomore and junior year.
That's
you know?
nice of him.
So we spent,
I don't
you know, hours, you know, together there. You know, like real nice guy.
You were
know?
tight with
And the third guy
Get out. You had a connection to him too?
was Canadian.
Oh.
Basically, like best fucking friends.
Right. Are you Canadian?
No, but Canadians are nice.
Okay. I just want to make sure that there wasn't.
And he was like super nice. And so like all 3 people just like, were on my side. And so I was like, all right, the 4th person, this makes or breaks it, is my father.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I call him up.
Okay.
And he picks up the phone. And I'm like, hey, Dad, I'm in the principal's office removing security cameras. They want you to come down to the school.
Do they really? That's the worst.
There's a dead silence. And then I hear on the other side of the phone, oh? And my, just like all my muscles just relax. I'm like, oh, thank Christ. So he comes down and he has just like this huge grin on his face. Yeah. And I was just like, I thought you were like hurt or dead. I'm so glad you're just in trouble for a possible felony.
Yeah.
And so by the time he got down there, both vice principals had left for a meeting, so it's just the principal. And the principal isn't in charge of, you know, punishment, just like one vice principal usually is, which is why it was weird to have all 3 people. But since I knew the principal, you know, he was like, get me involved. And then he, you know, reduced the sentence because he was like, I'm in charge, I make rules.
Yeah.
But so he showed me how the security camera system works. And he showed me and my father like how the system works and like you know, the ways that they, you know, did all these things. And I was like, why are you showing me this? If I'm still plotting something, I can just do it better because now I know specifically, you know, because it doesn't record if nothing changes, you know, if nothing moves. But then he pulls up this picture that he had printed out, and it's a picture of me staring directly into a security camera. And he goes to the frame, and it's literally seconds after a nearby security camera just like mysteriously points up at the roof instead of like down at the street. And like, cause like, I knew where all of them were, so I was just like always looking at them and waving at them and shit. So like, he's like, all right, I gotta punish you, you know, and you know, I really don't want to give an in-school suspension. I want to make you, you know, work for it. You have to return the security cameras to the way they were, and you have to, like I want you to do something else. Like I want you to be productive. I want you to like, you know, help rebuild the school website because I don't like how it looks. It hasn't been updated. And I was like, it looks like it hasn't been updated since like 2008. And he was like, yeah, like 2008.
Yeah.
And I was like, boom, I know. You changes in web design.
Web design aesthetics.
Yeah. So like he was like, all right, we'll discuss it. And we'll get back to you. And then like the next day I get like a message and I go into the office and they're like, all right, we're taking away your off-campus pass. So I can't leave during lunch.
Oh, you had an open campus?
Yeah.
That's nice.
But if you just walked outside the cars, you could leave without showing anybody.
That didn't affect you at all.
Yeah, no, not at all. But so he was like, all right, we're giving you an in-school suspension. And so for those of you at home who don't know, and for those of you in the room who don't know, an in-school suspension is where you show up to school and you don't go to class,
right?
And you sit in the office, and you play computer games on your computer, and you say you're working, and it's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's so great. I don't know how it's a punishment because I didn't have to go to English either of those days, and my teacher was a douche.
Yeah.
And he was also the director for the play.
Oh,
the Shakespeare play. Yeah.
Ooh, full circle.
So yeah. But so I go in there and I just dick around and shit. And the word starts. I tell one person, and then he tells someone else, and word starts spreading around the campus. And then that Friday, my friend comes up to me, and he was the stage manager, and he had been working at a banquet the previous night, like a sports banquet, end of the year sports banquet.
As you do.
Yeah, as
for sports.
And he was like, I was working at the banquet, and I saw the principal trying to take one of our ladders, like our 20-foot ladders. Like he's trying to like sneak out of this fucking pavilion with a 20-foot ladder.
Yeah.
He's not the sneaky person.
Right.
So my friend's like, hey, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And the principal doesn't name any names, but he says, a student moved the security cameras and we're afraid he's going to shoot up the school.
Whoa!
Yeah, and that had not crossed my mind at all. And so I was like, my mind was fucking blown.
That hadn't come across my mind either.
No, but I was like,
damn.
Am I now like the official school shooter? And for the rest of the year, everybody was making like jokes with me and like being like, hey, when are you gonna do it? It's today the day. We're good friends, right? You're not gonna kill me. Please don't kill me, Greg.
Goodness.
And it was great because it's the first and the only time that anyone has ever become popular because they're directly tied to a school shooting threat.
Right.
And
they're at risk.
Because usually it's like that person's a horrible person. They shot up a school.
Yeah.
It was like, Greg is gonna shoot up the school. It's funny as shit. Because we're a white middle class school. And there's a very short epilogue to that.
Okay.
And that's when I was moving the security cameras like a week later, I had this like pocket wallet multi-tool that had like a fucking Bowie knife in it.
Okay.
And I forgot that it had the Bowie knife, and we were like, there's like this comically large screw looking thing, which in reality is for plugging in network cables and SD cards for recording shit. But I was like, maybe that focuses the camera because one of the cameras was out of focus. And I was with the Canadian guy.
Right.
And so he was like, do you have anything like a screwdriver? And so I was like, hey, the multi-tool has like a bottle opener. I could give him that. That has a flat surface as long as I don't pull out the knife.
The knife part.
So I take it out and I look at it. And it's rectangular, and I start to pull at the top one, like the short way. And I'm like, no, that's the knife. And so I put it back, and then I pull out the knife.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, oh, shit. And he turns, and he's like, what's that? And I just put it away. I'm like, it's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
It's exactly what it looks like. And he's like, all right, I got to take that from you. Like, you can have a parent come pick it up. So I just like immediately texted my mom. I was like, hey, can you come by after school and pick up my knife? Thanks. And she had no question. She was just like, yeah, I'll be there. But so he was like, you weren't planning on stabbing anyone, were you? And I was like, no. I just have it. But he just looked at me and was like, you're one weird kid. Which is great because it wasn't, he looked at me and said, you're a serious threat to humanity. I need to lock you up. It was, you're a weird kid.
Yeah.
And that's the impression I left with them. And that's my security camera story. So for the rest of the year, I was the school shooter and security camera guy.
Yeah.
It was great.